Welcome back. On this week's episode, we come back from a very long summer hiatus and we bring some very interesting news. This is TripleXP.
TripleXP.
Welcome to episode 1 of season 2 of TripleXP. I'm Shane and we've got with us Mike.
Hello.
And we are joined by our new weekly host, Cheese.
I'm back. You never left.
We're
Yeah,
pretty
that's
much left. So throughout our very long extended summer break, we've discussed a lot about this podcast, and we've made some real major changes. And one of those things is that Cheese is now going to be a consistent third host. No more changing of our hosts. No more Mike moaning at me because we don't have a host ready.
No more
It's
filling
all
in
good.
for either one of you every other week.
Yeah.
I mean, you're still going to be filling in for us because you are filling in on a regular basis now.
Yes.
And the other big change is that we are going to have video, as anyone that is currently watching on the YouTube will see. So if you are
YouTube
interested in
elite.
watching us, you can come and see our beautiful faces now. Although we have not prepared for this first episode in any way, shape, or form. So this is the least prepared episode ever. And the last
Didn't even
piece
tidy
of
your
news-
rooms, boys. Jesus Christ.
No, I've just moved some cushions to cover all the mess.
I closed the curtain. That's about as much as I did.
Wait, that's how light it is with the curtain closed.
Yeah. Well, yeah, this faces west, so when the sun starts to set after like noon, it's hot and bright in here all day. I need to get a ceiling fan too, because I'm sweating right now.
Mike looks like he's in a cave. You've got like,
Yeah,
you look like it's literally
I'm underground.
Jesus. Some of the other pieces of news to come out from us is that we are changing to a 2-weekly schedule instead of a weekly schedule. So there'll be a episode. Did we settle on Tuesdays,
Sure.
boys? Yeah, was that what we settled on?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tuesday.
Episode will be out Tuesdays.
Or whenever Cheese wants to edit.
2 weeks.
Thursdays.
And lastly, the very last piece of news from the podcast is that we are dialing back any of the unneeded extra stuff to ensure that we can focus on the best content for the podcast. So we've removed our core Discord and we've moved to a new one. We've got rid of a lot of our unnecessary stuff, including the blog, and we've really dialed back the website just so that we can focus on the podcast. I think that's everything.
Yes.
Have I missed anything? No?
No.
No.
No, I think that's it.
Cheese doesn't really know what's going on. He's like, I just turned up. I'm here to talk.
We have
That's
cams and we have
Oh,
cheese, and
yeah.
that's.
I don't know anything, but I'm here.
That's the important parts of it. So with that in mind, we haven't really gone for a topic this week because we've had a huge summer hiatus. So it's been what, 3-4 months without an episode?
Yeah, a little too long, I think, on like us just not being motivated enough to restart, but we're back
No.
now, so
I'm still
I
not
mean, I don't know.
motivated.
I don't even
I'm
know
here.
if it's well, yeah, I don't even know if it's just motivation because we came off the back of obviously 18 months of COVID and we all wanted to go out and
True.
see the outside world
yeah.
again. And that obviously threw our plans. The problem with starting a podcast in the middle of a pandemic, that when that pandemic's over, or looking like it's close to being over, suddenly
We all just went outside for a few months. That's all we did.
yeah, that's it. That's where we've been. We haven't played anything. We haven't watched anything. We've just been outside.
I mean,
That's the end of the
during
podcast.
COVID and before COVID, that's all I ever did was watch stuff and play stuff.
So with that in mind, instead of having a topic this week, we thought we'd just talk about what we've been up to over our huge hiatus. I've been actively not talking to you guys that much about what you've been up to, so we can have this chat today.
Oh, that's why?
So I know what you've been up to.
All right,
Yeah,
I thought you
that-
were just ignoring me. Man. Those messages.
Yeah, he's keep messaging me, and he's like, "Why is this prick not fucking answering me?" It's been ignored.
We used to be such good friends, but now nothing.
So
I'm coming back a bit of a changed man, to be fair. In terms of gaming, I'm a new man. I'm a changed man.
I said
I'm now focusing solely on just playing backlog games. That's all I do now, and I've actually finished some games. I went through Titanfall 2 and actually got past like the best bit in the game where you do that crazy like time traveling and stuff like that, and I managed to actually finish that game, and it's fucking awesome. It's so good.
game. Can't believe it's taken you this long to finish shit.
Yeah, man. I just get distracted by like shiny new games, but now it's different. I'm a completionist now.
Now that you
I finished one game.
Now that you stopped buying games, you could buy that nice book set to make you look all smart and studious over there.
Yeah. It's just Game of Thrones. It's for display. I've never read them. I just watched them.
Have you read any of them?
I've read them all actually. Yeah.
Okay.
A while ago. I'm still waiting on him to finish.
See, I bought it, but I never read it, so I'm guilty.
Yeah, I've got there's over this side of the room. There's like a ton of books that I've never read. That just display.
Yeah, I do the same thing.
So Titanfall 2. What else have you had on your completion?
Yeah, Days Gone. I went back to that and finished that as well. And got the platinum on that on PlayStation. That's a great little game. It's got some weird pacing because like the best parts of the game where it's like the hordes, where it's all advertised about hordes, and is right at the end. And you don't really do a great deal of it. You do maybe 2 hordes, and then you can finish the game, like the main story. But it's the best part of the game. They should introduce it earlier. It'd be so much better because it's so fun, and I had fun tracking around all the map and getting down all of the hordes.
That's
But
a game
yeah,
I
it's
really
just
struggle with.
yeah, it's one of those because it's kind of like that sort of game where you're going from map marker to map marker and stuff. But the story itself like actually pulled me through, and it was decent in the end. It was really good.
I think the problem I had with that game when I played it when it first came out is the story is so slow at the beginning. Like it takes a while to really sink its teeth in, and it took far too long for me to get anywhere interesting.
That was another issue I had was just getting into the game. Like the beginning of the game is so slow, and it's so painful having to like refill your bike every like every one fast travel. You'd have to go and find some like fuel and refuel, and you just spend all your time just looking for fuel, and it was really irritating. But once you get past that and you upgrade your bike a bit, it becomes a lot easier and a lot better. But actually after finishing the game, I was gutted that they're not going to make a sequel like they canned it, didn't they? So
yeah, that was quite fairly.
For now anyway.
That was this year then.
Yeah.
They canned it.
Yeah, I think it was like a budgeting thing or something. They decided not to go with a sequel. But yeah, actually pretty livid about that because the way it ends is really open ended, and it's worth getting through the main story to see how it ends. Definitely. What about you, Shane? What have you been playing, man?
I mean, my main title, and I've got a couple of things to talk about on this. This is the Mass Effect Legendary edition.
I still need to get this.
Yeah, it's I've enjoyed it. I'm on Mass Effect 3 now. I'm not far through 3. Probably played about 3 or 4 hours of 3. I still have issues with both 1 and 2. I think don't get me wrong, they're fantastic games, but there's a lot of issues with them that if I was to, I know that their aim was basically just to just basically re-release the original game again. The problem is a lot of the original game was poorly made, and it was a great game for its time, but they just make some very odd choices throughout the series.
It's not aged well.
No. So Mass Effect 1 is the most RPG of the 3. Oh, it's a very bright red light outside my window then. What's going on outside?
I thought you were getting raided or something a couple of times because I kept seeing it. I'm like, are you under arrest and we don't know it yet? Best
it's
episode
very-
ever done.
Yeah, so Mass Effect 1 is the most RPG of all of them, in my opinion. You've got the most ability to adjust how your character plays out. You have so many weapons that you can change around, and like every time you're going into a different battle, you're finding new weapons. You're adjusting your armor. The armor in it is a little bit weak compared to the other two, but everything else feels very RPG-esque. But it has the god awful Simon Says game that they scrap after one, which to be honest, I would have
Yeah.
just taken out in the Legendary Edition because it makes no sense. Firstly, like
It's
why
a bit
does the
bizarre, yeah.
same, but yeah, why does the same Simon Says game allow me to hack a terminal made now, but also allow me to survey this piece of ore? It doesn't make any sense story wise. So that I found that very infuriating, and the story to one is pretty good. I remembered most of one, but then when it goes into two, there were so many things. I was just like, why did BioWare make this decision? So they changed it. It was because you've played two recently, haven't you, Mike? Fairly
I
recently.
played through one. I finished one. I finished one really quickly actually because it's my least favorite, and then I started two, but just stopped playing.
So two,
Mainly
they
because I bought it on Xbox and I got my
yeah.
PlayStation fixed
Back.
and back, so I've been on that since.
So the thing with two is they massively dial back on the RPG element. So two is by most people's standards the best of the three. And I really enjoy two, but they really dial back on the RPG element. You don't really feel that you have any growth over your character at all, because the RPG element is so dialed back. The guns are massively dialed back. The armor's improved, but still a little bit not quite there. Um, and so one of the things that I found with two that I really got frustrated with is the Citadel massively dialed back on that, and it almost went from this massive, like, bustling hub that you could run around in one to just two rooms in two. Like, it's just nothing. It's a nothing place in two,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's very frustrating. Um,
You
and then
don't
they
spend a lot of time there in regards to the story, though, do you? From what I remember.
no, only a little bit of time, but it's just frustrating that you got such a sprawling city in one, and then it's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
nothing. It's a nothing place. But then they do have Omega, which is like the new version of the big city that you're supposed to go to.
yeah.
Ultimately,
True.
the story to two, even though it's one of the best, is practically non-existent. The story is literally go find a crew, go do this thing. That's it. That is the
Yeah,
story
I
to two.
think the story in the second one, the crew, like you get to know them, and that's the story kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's the bit that I think why two is so good because you spend so much time getting
Mm,
to know all of your crew. But the
yeah,
thing that it's just frustrating again is the flight mechanic, flying the ship around. At first, it's like, yeah, this is cool. I can fly the Normandy around the map. After 5 hours of doing it, you're like, fuck's sake, I just want to fast travel to the next planet. I am done with this.
yeah,
Shit, this is so annoying. Why have I got to do this every single time? But no, I'm really enjoying it. I've got through the bulk of so I've got through the first two games, so I'm through the bulk of it now. I've made some very universally damaging decisions. Obviously, I always play
yeah.
Renegade in Mass Effect.
In true Shane fashion, you just completely fuck everyone over at every opportunity.
I'm out for myself and my crew. So I only get Paragon if it's helping my crew. Anytime that there is the opportunity to wipe out an entire race, wipe out an entire planet,
Jeez.
any of that, I will do it.
Somebody wasn't
Without
hugged as a child. My God.
Fucking Darth Vader over here,
God,
Jesus
yeah.
yeah,
Christ.
Darth
I've
Sidious over here.
never played Paragon in Mass
God.
Effect. And so I don't know, you probably wouldn't have got around to this, Mike. So there's a DLC mission in both one and two. So and obviously in the Legendary Edition they're built in. Now I didn't know there were
Mm.
DLC missions when I played them, and in one of them you get the option of either capture this known terrorist who's about to run away, or kill him. But in the process, it will blow up a room full of innocent hostages. Now I took the logical route, and there's no terrorist left, is what I'm saying.
Jesus Christ.
You must have
Those
failed like
men-
The
ethics
women and
class
the
or something.
children.
Yeah.
Those men died, but hundreds more didn't suffer at the hands of this terrorist. And then in the
I
second one,
mean,
you get another similar point where you basically get the opportunity to either warn an entire system. I think it's like something like 300,000 people. I say people, they're another alien race, Batarians. Or
300,000.
you don't warn them, and I mean either way
And you
they
get a Kit
die.
Kat.
But you can take the moral high ground of trying to not let them die. And I did not. I had better things to do. I was busy saving the galaxy. I ain't got time to save these mere 300,000 people. I've got a whole galaxy to save. But I did get the perfect ending with regards to I didn't lose anyone. So although I
You got a
was
happy
away,
ending?
I didn't lose any of my crew. So that's the main thing there. But yeah, that's been my main game recently. I've got a few more bits I'll touch on in a bit, but that's been my main title. Cheese, what have you been playing? Let me guess. It involves skateboarding.
It involves skateboarding. I've got
And
it.
that's
I've got
it.
that
He
man's
pulls his notes
signature
out
right
like
here. I know.
he pulls his notes out like Tony
Okay.
Hawk.
Okay, let me explain my gaming setup currently because that will make a little more sense as to why I haven't played anything great. Currently, we have one television in my house, and I had my PlayStation and everything hooked up in my office, but then we got like this really great couch. And the biggest TV, the only TV, is downstairs in our living area, our living room. So I was like, you know what? I want to take my PlayStation down there and play Tony Hawk on the couch casually. This was like when Tony Hawk first came out. It's almost a year ago. So actually, I beat it on my PS4. I 100%ed it. I didn't get the platinum, but I 100% all collectibles, all that stuff. Even all the gaps. That's how detailed I got. And then I was like, well, let's hook up my PS5 instead now and do it again. So I did it again. I beat the game all the way through with every possible character, all the collectibles, all that crap. And now I'm going for the trophies, so I have a reason to still play. But I was like, okay, what other casual stuff can I just pick up and play? Because I was kind of like, I don't know, I didn't want to get into one of those games that's going to take me 30 hours to beat. I just didn't have the interest in that. So I started playing the PlayStation Plus freebies each month, just a couple of them to see what was interesting. There was one that was called... What?
Before you say that, I love the fact that you're like, I don't want to play a game that's going to take me 30 hours to beat, but I'll happily put 500 hours into the last year of Tony Hawk.
But that's such a simple, like, for me, it's a mindless game. Like, I can literally beat the entire game, both Tony Hawk 1 and 2, 100% it in like an hour and a half easily. And I do it all the time. So for me, it really is mindless. I can be in any state of mind and be like, all right, I can play Tony Hawk for a little bit. Great. But to like pay attention to a game, I'm like, I don't want to do it. So I
I
started
have
playing.
another question.
Yes.
Wait. Before we go forward,
Before I
again,
kill an entire race of aliens because it might save one person.
yeah, right.
I don't want to
that
do this with
aside,
Shane anymore. This is weird now.
That's you can complete Tony Hawk 1 and 2 in like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
You've had the game for a year.
Yeah.
You still platinumed it.
Well, some of the challenges involve online play, and I just haven't played online enough. Like you have to do certain online game modes so many times and win so many times or capture whatever. So that's the only reason.
Are you
Some of
scared
the
to go online? Other people might be better than you.
the what? No, actually, I've played online a couple of times, and some people are nuts. Like not even fair. Like I don't know how they do it. Like I think I'm actually pretty good at that game, and there's some people though that are just absolutely insane.
Yeah, because I do this. Like, I'll play NHL on a really hard difficulty, and I'm like, yeah, I'm really good at this game, and then I'll go online and realize I'm shit.
Yep.
Because everybody else is like somehow doing it with their eyes closed,
Yep.
and they're playing with their toes, and they're still smashing me.
Yeah, it's not fair. That's why I stopped playing games online. I just play against like my brother and know I'm better than him, so that helps. That's the only time I play online. All right, so PlayStation Plus freebies. One of them was called like Dirt Racing or something. It was like last month or 2 months ago. And I ended up putting probably 20 hours into that game of just doing races on dirt tracks. They had like demolition derbies and some other stuff too. And it was really just a fun change of pace because I haven't played a racing game in a long
So
time.
was that Wreckfest?
Yep.
Yeah, it was good
Yeah,
fun.
yeah.
The demolition derbies and stuff were pretty fun, and actually with a PlayStation 5 controller, it was a nice like there was good feedback and stuff, and it was a fun game.
Yeah, definitely.
More recently, I have been playing that tennis game that's free this month. I played
The way
tennis.
you're reading off that like this little tiny notebook.
I do
tennis
have
game,
notes.
That tennis game is so boring.
It's
played it
really
the other week.
hard too. Like the first couple of times you play it, it's almost impossible. And then I had to turn the setting way down to be super easy, and now I'm okay at it. But I used to play like Topspin on original Xbox. Me and my brother played hours and hours and hours into that because we loved playing tennis. Like that was the only sport I was ever slightly okay at. But to have it as a video game, it's not as fun, but it was still worth playing.
Exactly.
It's not a
I
great sports
do,
game.
It's a beautiful looking game. Like
Yeah,
they've
it
done
is.
a job of making it. Like it is very, very graphically beautiful. And if you like tennis, you'll love it. But for me, tennis is a game that I don't even enjoy watching it. I only really enjoy playing tennis, actually playing it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a game I'm ever going to enjoy
Yeah.
on a console.
Yeah, I didn't even bother giving that one the download. I just added it to the library to never play.
It would be fun to play like against somebody, like if you wanted to play against me, even though I know how to play it at this point, but like that would be the only way it could be fun is if somebody could tell you how to do it a little bit because their tutorials suck so bad for that game.
Yeah.
In fact, I retract my statement. The only other time that tennis is fun is when you're playing on the Wii Fit tennis,
That's
swinging
fair.
the fucking Wii motor around, trying to knock each other out.
Mario Tennis is pretty fun too on Switch. That Mario Aces, Super Mario Aces or whatever it's called.
I've not tried that
Yeah, I
one.
meant to pick that up, but never did.
Yeah, it's a good one.
But it does look fun, like yeah.
I put a lot of time into Splitgate lately, but I think we can probably save that for a little bit because we've all been playing that. I think at least once or twice.
Might as well touch on it now. We've all been playing it. We've all had a bit of fun on it.
Yeah, so I'm not great at shooting games because I don't have patience. I just like to get kills, but that usually means that if I get 10 kills, I get 12 deaths type of thing. So like I can contribute to a team, but you can't expect me to hide behind a corner and not die a lot. So even this morning, this was the first time I played like an online shooting game by myself in a long time. Like it's like, oh, there's a couple challenges. I think I could do them. Logged in, played for like an hour. I've been playing quite a bit every night too with like my brother and Lunchbox. I know you guys, at least Mike knows who Lunchbox is. There's just friends that I used to play like Fortnite and stuff with at night. And like that was our gaming time and our online time together. And it's kind of nice to get back to that. Just kind of that camaraderie of playing online games. Even if you're raging the entire time, there's still something about it. It's like, this is better than like just sitting here by myself and not raging, I guess. So Splitgate,
it's got that really like old school vibe to it, hasn't it?
yeah.
Like the old Quake shooters or like Halo or something, but you can throw portals around and makes it like a really interesting game mechanic to, especially when you like trick someone with your portal. Like if you've ever done that yet, like it's so satisfying when you just pop up
100%.
behind them. Like yeah, it's so good.
So
It's
I
so
actually
satisfying.
thought, and I know I said this to you guys, I thought I was going to hate Splitgate because I saw the portals and I was just like, I can't deal with another shooter that has me thinking about a million and one things at once. I can't deal with it.
Yeah.
And it's part of the reason why I stopped playing Destiny. And
Yeah.
actually, I've enjoyed my time with Splitgate. It's like you say, the portals is a fun element. Not everybody, so you don't feel like you're forced to have to use them.
Yeah,
mean,
I hardly ever do.
He never uses them and he smashes still. So you don't feel like you have to be good at portals to be good at the game. And I do like throwing them about. They make for good escape routes sometimes.
Yeah.
But the thing I like about it is it is just like you say, it's an old school shooter that doesn't doesn't matter how much you've played. It just comes down to skill. Like there's no super gun that's going to make you outclass everybody else.
Yeah.
Everybody starts with the same starter weapons. It's just
Yeah.
purely skill. You've not got special abilities that other people don't have, and if you've played for like 95 hours, you can't one-shot people from the other side of the map. It's just running around shooting people in the face, and it's great.
And like
Yeah.
it's perfect timing for a game like this too, because over the last 3 years, 4 years, like Fortnite, Call of Duty, Warzone, and Apex have just kind of been the go-to for online shooter games. Destiny, and there's other ones too, but like this one is so simple and falls in right at a perfect time where people are sick of those games and right before we get into Halo. So like Splitgate couldn't have been a more perfect timed thing, because honestly, this is just practice
Yeah.
for everybody until Halo comes out. Like the Portals is a unique portion, but it's not necessary. Even, I mean, there's been games where I've played like full rounds and there have been 0 portals used at all.
Yeah, it's just such a stripped back
Yeah.
shooter. Just like no gimmicks, no over the top. I mean, it has got the gimmick of portals, but they're so, like you say, they're so unnecessary that you don't feel like you have to continuously use them.
It's
And some
less
of the
net.
game
It's
Yeah.
it's less like portals in this game is less necessary than the build mechanic in Fortnite was. And I never built anything really in Fortnite, so that's why I kind of got over it. There were so many people that were so good at that portion, but with the portals, it's like it's a fast enough paced game that you can't really camp out at a portal for very long. Like somebody will get you, and it just keeps that pace
Yeah.
quick, and it makes it better and less necessary to do it in the first place.
I think it's just refreshing compared to other shooters that
Yeah.
they've just stripped back, and it's these like bare bones mechanic of shooting. Like there's no like crazy auto aim or like slide cancels, things like that, that are in like all the modern shooters now. Like even just like aim down sight is really simple. It's just you literally have your crosshair, or you have like just
Yep.
Yeah,
a zoomed
exactly.
in scope.
It's like playing
And
Halo 1
there's no
System Link
like
is what it feels like to me. Like just being back in my
yeah,
basement,
exactly.
hanging out with my friends, playing System Link. And it's so much fun because
Yeah.
of that. It's not one of those games where even if you are really good, you're still pretty limited because it's very fast paced. Unless you're playing team deathmatch or something, but we usually play like Shoddy Snipes or SWAT or something like that. So we play the
This is what I was
faster
about to
modes.
say. Like Mike knows from his many a time of playing a game with me, I am a fucking terrible aim. I'm an awful aim. Yet I'm actually doing well on shotties and snipes or
Yeah.
SWAT. Like I find those game modes, I actually do surprisingly well on them.
It's pretty
And
forgiving too. Like the aiming isn't so spot on. I mean, yeah, if you don't get a headshot with a sniper, they're not going to die in one shot. But like SWAT is actually a pretty forgiving game mode, even if you don't have great aim and sensitivity in that game isn't great. But it it's still. I mean, you can be terrible at it and still have a fun time.
as I said, there's no
Yeah, I
sliding, there's
think
no ridiculous moves. It's
There's
just
not even grenades.
yeah.
Like
As well, like they've really nailed that like simplicity of just some simple weapons, and everyone knows how to use them. Like you can come in as a new user and kind of know what you're doing,
yeah,
or you can be like a shooter veteran and also know what you're doing. Like it's just the perfect
yeah,
balance of a
exactly.
shooter, in my opinion.
The one thing I will say about it is because of its simplicity, I don't think it has. It's not the sort of game I could hit all night. Like I can do a couple of hours on it and then be like, "Oh, that's it. I'm now done."
same.
Like
Yeah.
there's a bit of a repetitive nature to it that after you've done 2 or 3 hours of games, you're like, "Oh, I really don't have the energy to do more."
Yeah.
Yeah, but then again, it's perfect for the times where like we're all like mid-30s now. We don't
Whoa,
stay up
whoa,
all
whoa,
night
whoa.
playing into games.
I'm
So
29,
Well,
sir.
mid
early
40s and
days.
to mid 30s.
My hairline's mid 40s, but I'm only 29.
But we all fucking work all day. We come home,
Yeah.
we play a few games for an hour or so. It's that perfect amount of time playing that game where it's like, oh, it's bedtime now, boys.
And there's
See you
something just
later.
and the nostalgic factor to it too, just like I said, playing System Link, like hearing that voice go double kill. You're just like, oh my God, take me back to those days where you'd go to
Yeah,
school and
yeah.
you'd come home and then you'd play games. That's all you had to worry about. And now it's like, I got a mortgage, I got a wife,
Yeah.
I got a handicapped
Hey,
cat now. Like I didn't even get to that part yet. Like
I'd say that it's a Friday night, couple of beers.
exactly. It's a
Like,
pretty
yeah, big
easy
game. Yeah.
game to play under the influence too. Like it really is because you can have your team carry you. You're just there for participation.
Yeah.
Nice little game.
Okay, 2 more games that I've been playing. Mario
Yep.
Golf, which I'll just briefly touch on. If you're not into if you don't love golf, but you want a fun like party game, Mario Golf is great. Like even though I mean I play PGA, what is it, 2K PGA or PGA 2K, whatever it is. So I love golf, and that's pretty advanced. But like Mario Golf is actually a pretty solid golf game too. Like it doesn't have to be a super dense. Like you have to know what club to hit so much. Like it kind of does it for you. But for somebody who plays the more advanced games, it's still great. It's good fun. And I've played it several nights with people online, and it actually runs really well online, which is not a common thing to pair with Nintendo.
I know we had a few games all three of us together, didn't we?
I forgot about that.
Yeah, when it first came out, we had a few games. I had a good night. I had it on rental, so I sent it back. But no,
I do regret actually buying it and not renting it, because I played it once with you guys and I've never touched it since.
We should play again.
Yeah, we won't though.
Go back to. Yeah, you won't.
Another game that I briefly started, and I was like, maybe it's not the time for this. And I don't know if you guys do that too when you start a game. You're just like, it doesn't match up with where I'm at right now with like my interest. Just doesn't really.
Yeah.
So I started Control, and I played for maybe a half hour, and I was just like, I don't know. Like I really want. It's a beautiful looking game so far, but I was just like, maybe it's not time. So this morning, I literally played this maybe 3 to 4 hours already today. I finally started Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And
nice.
It is. I love it.
Are you aggressive?
It's great. I mean, I know it's literally what I just said I didn't want to do and pick a game that's going to take up all my time, but to be able to play this on a PS5, I'll probably stream some of it. I need to bring my PlayStation back up here and clean my office and all that crap behind me. But
that's not a 30-hour game either. That's like
a lot.
60 plus.
Yeah. And I'm going to try to just focus on the main story, I think, because I can always go back and play as like the other. I'm playing as the girl right now. And so I'll probably go back and play as the guy at some point. I know there was an option to do both, but honestly, I probably spent half of the time running around and collecting the wealth, whatever collectibles, like where you get the extra abilities or gold or whatever it is. I'm having fun just kind of running around in the landscape and trying to kill people and take their stuff. Like it's just been a lot of fun so far.
Yeah, I think the Assassin's Creed games have become more about like exploring the world and like understanding the history of stuff in the past like 2-3 games.
My least favorite part of the game so far, though, my least favorite part of the game was when, I don't know if this is a spoiler. Did you both play this?
Complete lack of skateboarding.
Complete lack of skateboarding. No, I was super bummed when she got the wrist blade. Like, it was going so well before that. Like, to me, it felt more like a Skyrim or God of War game. And then they're like, oh, that's right, we're Assassin's Creed. We got to give her a hidden blade of some sort. And I'm like, why? It was going fine with the controller layout is perfect with the bow and you can have a shield and your one-handed weapon. Like, I think that's perfect. Like, they nailed that. And then they're like, oh, well, now you can assassinate. It's like, I don't want to do stealth the entire time. Like, I think maybe that's my issue with Creed games.
You don't really do a lot of stealth in that game.
Good.
It's not built for stealth. It's built for just running in and getting a battle axe around like a madman. And I also wouldn't worry too much about the fact that you can play as because if I remember rightly, they're ultimately the same story. Just you can either play as a man or a woman. Like there's no real difference in the story.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's just that it is solely a design choice that you can choose.
Yeah.
I don't think it changes anything.
Okay.
I know in the last one in Odyssey there was quite a vast difference in the talent of the voice cast of like the man and the woman.
Yeah.
Like, everyone played as the woman because the voice acting was just way better. Yeah.
I'm looking it up.
That one Odyssey, it was targeted towards the woman was meant to be the character. That was who they kind of saw as the main character. Whereas in this one, the man is the one who they see as the main character.
Yeah, I know there was a whole thing with Ubisoft about that as well, wasn't there? That's a whole different story.
I mean, there's a whole lot of things with Ubisoft in the last 12 months. But that is a very different episode. very different.
Yeah, you're right. It is the same character.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's ultimately the same.
I mean, it was the same in the last game as well, wasn't it?
Then why did it give you
Yes,
the
it's
option
Like,
to, like the default was the animus will represent the stronger female or male memory stream depending on its current strength.
it will just.
Like what would that even be based on? Up to that point, you don't do anything.
I don't know, but ultimately it's the same game whether you choose the male or female. So I would just stick with one and play the game.
Yeah, I
for
chose
one.
the female.
There's no point
Yeah.
in going back and doing it. You're just going to be doing the same stuff you've already done again, but as a male.
The story's really heavy with cutscenes too, but I finally figured out you can like fast forward it without skipping it. You can just kind of tap circle and hop your way sentence at a time.
Favorite
But
thing in any game is skipping sentences.
I know, and I'm usually a person who likes to skip this stuff because I don't really care so much about the story. Like as long as it's a fun game, I'm in.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I'm sitting here with a controller in my hand. Do I really want to watch a movie right now, or can I just tap my way through? But like I said,
I think you sound a bit like me in that you kind of care enough about the story, but only enough that you want to get the gist of it.
yes,
I don't want to know the
100%.
full ins and outs. Like, as long as I can
Yeah.
kind of understand why I'm doing that, I don't really need to know the politics behind it.
Unless it was like Spider-Man that had me so like wrapped up, and I just couldn't like.
Yeah.
I needed to soak in every bit of that game. But with Valhalla, right now I'm just like in awe of the visuals. Like it's absolutely a beautiful game through and through. Even like running through the snow looks nice. Some of the kills are amazing. I beheaded somebody for the first time today. That was pretty cool. And out of context, that sounds bad. But the game, the game is fantastic. I'm excited to keep playing. I'm kind of bummed that I waited this long. I actually won a copy of it from a streamer when it came out. I never played it. It's just been sitting there. So I'm like, I think it's time to play something good on my PS5 instead of tennis and dirt racing.
You owe it to that streamer.
Yeah.
At least to play it.
This what we were saying about cutscenes though, this is my problem with Mass Effect is that I don't need to know the politics behind the genocide I'm committing, just what my options are.
Yeah.
I mean,
What are the rewards?
yeah. I mean, even now, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but Creed is one of those games where you have quite a bit of freedom to do whatever you want, but your choices will come back on you, or is that not the case?
Cool bit. You're very free to kind of go where you want, but you're also not because the areas are tied by level. So although you can go where you want, you will just get absolutely fucked if you go into any area that is massively over leveled.
Yeah,
So
and
it kind of gives you that full sense of freedom.
that's kind of my issue too. Is like I said, I'm just running around and following the little things on the map for the collectibles, and then I'm like, oh, well, what's this beast? And then I just got destroyed with like one swing of a hammer because I was in an area I should not have been in. So then I just like ran away and I kept playing in that area, and so far I've been fine. But like the raids are pretty cool. Like to just
You look at the map and you're like, oh, I'm level 30 and this is a level 240.
yeah.
And there's no like, apart from the two like end game areas, there's no real understanding. It will literally go from like level 30 to level 240 to level 180, and you're like, what? This is not the order that it should be going in. I have to go through the hard area to get to the less hard area.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's got me hooked though. I mean, I wasn't sure if I was gonna be hooked by it or not, or if I was just gonna like sell it or something, but I'm glad I played it. And I'm sure I'll be playing it for weeks. Long time.
I look forward to coming back to this conversation in episode 4. So what's that? That's going to be like 8 weeks away, and seeing if you're still on that same position because
I'm sure I'll
I
stop
mean,
playing by like Sunday afternoon.
I just want to see how your longevity sits with that game because that's my biggest problem is its longevity. I'll be interested to see where you go with that.
Yeah, I mean, I've not played Valhalla yet, but I'm assuming it's similar with Odyssey, like you were saying about the areas that were like capped off and
Yep.
with like regards to like levels and stuff. That just really frustrated me because I just like wanted to go and explore these places because like ancient Greece is just such a cool place to explore.
Yeah.
But it just limited that for me, and I was just like, I just had enough because I can't be bothered having to do all these like little side quests to level up to get further on. It was just frustrating as a game mechanic.
And so far, the game
But the game
mechanics
itself is like gorgeous and fun.
and the mechanics have been great so far too, because it's not like you don't really take a ton of fall damage. You don't die if you swim in the icy river. Like it it basically got rid of like the little nitpicky things that kind of ruin games like that sometimes, where like if you carry too much, you get weighed down and can't run. Like it's just simple, but not simple, but it feels simple. But
Yeah,
Odyssey and Valhalla are two games that, for me, are strong arguments for not every game needs to be a massive open world, because
mm.
and that's one of Odyssey's biggest problem is it's too big. They just make like
Yeah,
they've
yeah.
got a point where they're just going bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's got to a point where it just doesn't need to be that big. That actually you're now filling it with so much pointless shit that I don't care. Like I can't get
Yeah.
from main mission to main mission because there's too much shit in between.
That was another issue with me. Where it's like you'd see a map marker and it was like you'd have to get to your boat, which was like on the other side of the island, and then you'd have to get in that boat and row to the other side of Greece,
Yeah,
and then it was just like fuck that. I'll just play a different game because it's just I'll
you
spend
get
less time traveling than
yeah,
it will to load up another game.
you get map fatigue, and map fatigue is very real. And like,
Mm,
and this is the thing that I think me and you suffer from a lot, Mike, is we end up going to another game because you do just get fatigued by looking at that same map for too long, especially when it's a map that's so big,
yeah,
and it just feels so daunting to have to explore the whole thing that you're just like, I'm just not even gonna bother.
see, I'm kind of the opposite though. Like I'm literally spending the time now to explore it, and then once I have it all explored, I'm like, okay, now I don't care.
yeah,
Yeah, I get that. So I have this problem as well with series fatigue, in that I preempt that if someone says to me right now, like Breaking Bad, it's not that long ago. If you went to me right now, Shane Gone with Breaking Bad scene, I can't, I physically cannot muster the energy to watch it because I know it's more already. And the fact that I've got to get through 4 seasons at least. I don't know how many seasons it had in the end, but the fact that I've got to get through a
Kevin.
seasons, I just look at that and go, no, that's going to be too much of my time.
I mean, I'm doing that same thing with anime right now though too, so I guess I understand. It's like, oh, do I really want to spend all this time to watch 6 seasons, like 100 and something episodes? I did with My Hero Academia, but there's some stuff where I can imagine it is a slow crawl to the finish line, and I don't. There's too much other stuff to watch. Like same with games. Like if Creed ends up not being my thing, fine. But at least I'll know and not have wasted 60 hours on a game that's just meh to me when I could have played anything else that I would have loved every second of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. On the note of new games, because I know this is something that both me and Mike have played in our small hiatus. Did you get an opportunity to play the Back for Blood beta?
I did not.
So we had a pop at this one night, didn't we? Me, you, and Max.
Yeah, that went swimmingly, didn't it? That went
Well,
really well.
yeah, it went super well.
I
But
did
actually, no, I
actually
enjoyed it.
the night before we played. I did have to have a little go with Jedi on the rare occasion that he actually played a game with someone.
Right?
Um,
Do you play
but
too worse with Jedi?
oh well, we didn't even get to play because my kid was sick in the night, so I ended up having to like just deal with that instead.
We did
So
better.
Jedi was just sat there waiting. But yeah, when yeah, it was just an absolute disaster. But when we played, like it was right back to Left 4 Dead. It's the exact same game almost,
Yeah,
and
it's
it's
that
just
some
like a
of the
ton of
opening
fun.
missions even felt like carbon copies of Left 4 Dead. Like some of the first buildings you go through, we were like, this
Yeah,
actually is
yeah.
Left 4 Dead.
Is
We're
this the
just
same
playing
game?
the same game but with new graphics. But no, we
Like,
had
how did
a
they get away with this?
yeah, it's questionable, isn't it? But no, we had a
Yeah.
pretty good decent time on it though. It plays pretty well. The combat's okay. It can get quite frustrating at times because it can be very manic and it's not forgiving at all.
No,
In
it
any way.
isn't. especially in like the later stage. And I know they've always been quite tough in the previous games, but it did seem like we just weren't kitted out well enough to deal with what was coming.
Yeah.
Especially when we had that AI that was just an absolute useless idiot, where he had his invisible minigun because it glitched out or something.
I know, yeah, but that was amazing. So we basically had this.
Yeah.
There's a gun that they like sit on, and like they stand on this gun, and it's obviously got like a tripod like down, so they're standing there doing that. But the game glitched out, so he was just walking around with his arms out, but not holding anything. Legs completely flat, hovering along the ground, just going, but he wasn't holding anything,
Yeah.
which
It
was
also wasn't
incredible.
doing any damage to anyone.
No, it wasn't. But it's one of those games that I think you need 4 players for. The AI is trash anyway. There's no point playing it if you're going to play with AI because they're just not good enough. And
Yeah.
even playing with randoms, you need to be able to communicate on that game. Like you need to know what's going on around each other because it's so frantic. You need to know when to go and cover each other, when to support each other, and you can't do that when you're playing with randoms.
Yeah, I mean, you can always jump on a voice chat, but that's a
Yeah, but that
gamble,
involves
isn't it?
I mean, you never know what you're going to end up talking to
Yeah,
or who.
and it involves speaking to strangers as well, which is a huge
I mean,
no-no.
no, we end up talking to people like Cheese. Oh, what's all that about?
I mean,
Strangers from the internet.
it's too late now.
So Mike, have you played anything else?
Yeah, I mean, I have played quite a bunch of stuff. To be fair, I've been on the platinum run, so I played a game called Pumpkin Jack.
I want to play that so bad.
Which you know what? It's such a really simple, old school, like in a retro style platformer. It's heavily influenced by the medieval games that were out on PS1 and that got remastered recently. It's simple platforming, but it's fun and entertaining, and the characters are like great in it. Similar to like how the Lego games play, where it's like simple puzzles, simple platforming, but it's just a really enjoyable time. And like I plowed through that game. I played it like 2 nights on the run and managed to get like the platinum on it and stuff. But even like the collectibles and stuff are like fun to find, and yeah, it was just a really good time. And Pumpkin Jack's like a pretty cool character. And I actually played more of this than I did of Medieval. Like I got a bit fed up with Medieval like quite early on and never went back to it like I do. But yeah, this game was great. I can't recommend it enough as like a really cheap, just quick, fun game. You know, you're looking at like 10 hours maybe to finish it completely. It took me like like a full playthrough and then like playing through the levels just to find the collectibles. But it has like a level select as well, so they're quick and easy. But yeah, I think it's on sale at the minute as well. It's like in the 75% PlayStation sale. It's like a tenner-ish, something like that.
I was thinking it was
Worth picking up.
$20 here because I had looked it up and I saw you tweet about it because that was I don't remember who I watched play it when it first came out, but I was like, this looks like something I could get into, and I just never bought it.
Yeah.
I'm to the point too where like I'm fine waiting for games like Mass Effect. Yeah, I could have bought it day one, but why? It'll be cheap in no time. Even if I have to wait a couple of years, I have so much of that
Yeah.
crap to play. I don't need it right this second.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with both films and games, I'm very much like, I'll just wait. Unless if it's, like, I think the only game I'm planning on buying day one this year now is Battlefield. Because Battlefield, I don't really need an explanation, really. But
Yeah, that's the thing that happened while we were away. E3 happened.
E3 happened.
That was
Gamescom
decent.
happened, Summer of Gaming happened.
We got a PlayStation event next week, right?
Got a PlayStation event on Thursday.
Oh yeah, true.
Yep. There was something
Exciting
else.
time.
Spider-Man trailer dropped. That happened.
That
Yeah.
did really well as well in terms of like its viewership. It did
Best
better than
ever.
Endgame.
Yeah.
Like, Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not surprised though, because I think a lot of people are excited for where.
I watched it a good 4 times, and then I showed Ellie, and I was like, "Look! Oh my god! Look who it is!"
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if you're listening to this or watching this, like, and you haven't seen that trailer, go and fucking watch it. It's
It-
so
it is a good trailer.
exciting. The promise of like what it brings to the table, like
and
everything we've kind of been waiting for as Marvel fans.
and it proves that Disney knows exactly what they're doing because I haven't watched
Yeah,
Falcon Winter Soldier, but I watched WandaVision and Loki, and I saw Black Widow, and I'm seeing Shang-Chi on Tuesday night, but they know what they're doing with their shows, and it's captivating enough people's attention that they know where the movies are going to eventually go and where those shows tie in. And I, I believe that this next phase, especially with Spider-Man and with the Doctor Strange movie after that, they're going to be the biggest Marvel movies yet, easily.
See,
yeah,
I kind of I agree, but I also disagree with this. I think they're in a very, very precarious situation at the moment
They are.
because you've got like you say, they've got all their Marvel shows now. You've got WandaVision, Loki, Falcon and Winter Soldier, and What If that will now come out
Oh yeah,
or coming out.
it's out.
Um, plus the films, and it's getting to the point where your average casual watcher can't keep up.
True.
So my partner, for example, she isn't a huge geeky Marvel fan. She isn't interested in watching What If. It's animated. She's not a fan of that sort of style. He wasn't particularly bothered by Loki. And it's getting to the point where it's becoming so spread across all these different areas that she's losing interest in keeping up with it all. She'll 100% watch Spider-Man, don't get me wrong, because she thinks Spider-Man's great. But like Shang-Chi, no interest in it whatsoever. Um,
mm,
and it's becoming. I think they're going to have to really capitalize on making sure that casual audience understands what's happening because it's getting to the point where a lot of people are saying if you haven't watched What If, there's going to be elements of What If in Doctor Strange because have you two seen
yeah.
the first episode of What If?
I watched
I've
one
seen
episode. I saw the
I saw
Black
the
Panther
Captain
one.
Carter episode.
So the first episode it shows Peggy Carter as the like British Captain America, the
Yeah,
Captain
yeah.
Britain, whatever they call her. Um, and
Captain
there's a
Carter.
lot. That's it, Captain Carter, and a lot of people are
I think,
saying
yeah,
that she apparently is down to be in Multiverse of Madness live action as that character. But if
yeah,
you're a casual viewer who hasn't watched What If, that could come across as very jarring and confusing if you don't understand where that's come from or what that is. So I think it's a very difficult position for them to be in if you're not a huge Marvel fan.
But at the same
yeah,
time, like if my wife comes with me to go see Spider Man, she's not gonna ask a bunch of questions. Like she's gonna know that she doesn't know everything. Like we went and saw Black Widow and she loved it for what it was, but there were lots of references and she didn't really know what was going
Yeah,
on.
no, and I get that, but
The people who
I,
care will invest the
even
time to
I'm
watch the shows, is what I mean.
That's the thing, even I'm getting a little bit tired of it now. Like I'm getting to a point where I'm struggling to want to keep up with everything. I have no interest in Shang-Chi. It looks fine. I'll watch it. If it was on Disney Premiere, whatever it's called, Disney Plus Premiere, I'd watch it. I don't want to have to go to the cinema. I'm not paying for the cinema to go and see it. I'll wait for it to become free. I enjoyed Black Widow. What if it's very? I've watched one episode and I've got no real interest to rush back and watch the rest. I'll watch it at some point. But even I've been quite a big Marvel fan throughout, and even I'm at the point where I'm like, I'm really struggling to keep up with this and keep up with life
Yeah.
because you have to really put in a lot of effort now to keep on top of
yeah.
Marvel.
I think I'm in a weird position where, like, after Endgame, I was kind of done with the MCU, and it kind of just sort of finished there when it's bringing out all its smaller series like WandaVision. I watched a few episodes and just couldn't stick with it. I just couldn't get into it. Same with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I couldn't get into it. And same with Loki again. Like, watched an episode or two, and I was just like, yeah, it's good, but I'm just not getting it. I'm just not connecting with it. Until like the multiverse was like all but confirmed, and then there's all of these elements that are like linking it together. I'm like more interested now. Where I'm, like I need to see these shows now because they all link together, and that's what I loved about the original MCU films, like the Endgame, all of that, all linked together over years and years and years.
Yeah.
So it's now that it's sort of confirmed that all of this is coming together and it's all linking, then I'm back in now. I'm ready to watch them all.
Are you
I do
excited?
agree.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I do agree. Like I'm a bit like you. I felt like my MCU ended with Endgame, and I kind of treat the Spider-Man films separately in that they were an entity almost. But I agree with what you're saying in that. To me, it felt like my MCU that I grew up with ended with Endgame, and actually this next stage, I just don't have the adult patience to keep
Yeah.
up with it all.
So you're not excited by these new well, there'll be solo films to start, but I'm sure they link together like Shang-Chi and the Eternals. Like you're not excited for those at all?
The Eternals,
Uh,
honestly, looks awful. The trailer is
mm,
it is one of the worst Marvel trailers I've ever seen.
I don't
I've got to
Genuinely.
agree
I don't
with you there.
I
It
don't
just didn't do
agree.
anything for me. It's like,
But you're looking at those trailers in the scope that you looked at the Endgame trailers and the Iron Man trailers. Like if you look at
yeah.
it as a standalone film, it's way different. 100%, it's way different. But
Mm.
I think it's got potential, and so far Shang-Chi has very high reviews from what I've
Yeah, I've
seen.
heard really
Yeah, I've
good
heard
things about
only
Shang-Chi.
good things about
Like
it.
the fighting
And I,
sequences are supposed to be great, and if you watched Loki at all, those were the worst fighting sequences I've ever seen in my entire life. So I'm looking forward to a good fight scene.
and no,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong though, I love old school martial arts films. And so I looked at that and thought, you know what, this could be a little bit of me, but I've just got no interest whatsoever in it until it's free. I don't want to
I'll
have to go to
report back on it after I see it.
I know Ryan's seen it and
I'm excited to watch it. I want to go see it.
but the Eternals, honestly, I'm sure it will be great, but the trailer does no justice for it, in my opinion. I don't think it looked good at all.
Yeah.
And also, like the trailer very much comes across in that I'm supposed to know or care about these people. I don't know any of them or care about them.
That's fair too. And honestly, I guess I didn't know much about them until one of my buddies loves watching those YouTube videos that break down every Easter egg and every frame and all that crap. So like if you know that they're like these super powerful beings and there's like relation to Thanos, even though the movie seems very slow in the trailer, it's definitely being a build up to something. So that's kind of exciting.
This is something that in the movies I think is going to be a real struggle moving forward. In the comics, it's easy to do because the comic world is mental.
They can do
You
anything
can
they
just
want.
invent
Yeah.
stuff. You've just spent 10 years taking all of these amazing, super powerful characters that we know, and it's taken them 10 years and every single last character we know to defeat someone as powerful as Thanos. But now they've upped the stakes into the fact that everybody's as powerful as Thanos. Do you know what I mean? Like all these new Eternals, well, they're like Thanos level.
True.
What? So you've just taken it's taken me 10 years to get to this level where we can beat one person who's as powerful as Thanos, but now you're telling me that there is a shitload of people that are as powerful as him and just didn't do anything and we're just there.
They did a pretty good job with the first like the that first 10-year, which is really phase 1, 2 and 3, I think.
Yeah,
So
but it's
if
that
you
power scale that I find difficult in those movies is that how are they gonna continuously scale that power of Thanos to be higher and higher with these? Because the one thing Marvel always did really well in that first 10 years is that all of the heroes, even Thor, who is meant to
it
be
was
a superpower,
balanced.
felt really balanced, felt really believable, and nobody
Mm.
felt so overpowered that it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
But more you increase that power level, the more out of touch those heroes are going to become with the regular viewer because they're just going to become more and more
Gods.
ridiculously
Yeah.
powerful.
We'll see what happens.
I mean,
Yeah, I'm
I
sure
hope
they'll explain it away.
I'm sure they will,
They
and I
know
hope they do.
they know what they're doing. I think.
Yeah, I trust them. I
I
trust them.
thought I believed in them. We'll see if I continue to or not.
Mm.
But did you both? Because you haven't finished Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Mike.
No,
I watched one
I
episode and I was just
don't
like,
think I finished the first one.
Okay,
yeah.
because that was good. It was good. Have you both seen the ending towards that show?
No.
Like what happens
Nope.
towards it?
No, no.
Yeah. Yeah. No. I know what happens.
Yeah. No, we won't touch on that then. We'll leave that for another day.
Yeah.
Works for me.
No.
Yeah. Can we rewind a bit and go back to like E3 and what happened there?
Yes. Well,
there's a few
can
games.
we, or
Um,
should we save this for next episode? Should that be like a whole episode, E3 and Gamescom? Because I feel like that's a big
I don't-
conversation, and we've nearly
yeah, I guess
out
so.
already.
And we can tie in the PlayStation
I guess
event.
so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I just want to mention a few games that I'm excited for, which is Lost in Random, which comes out in a few days.
Okay.
I think on the 9th. Yeah, I think it's the 9th or 10th, which is the Tim Burton-esque. It's like yeah. So it's like Tim Burton-esque, and you have like a dice little companion. Everything looks like it's animated with stop motion. It looks fantastic. The way the gameplay works is it mixes like cards and dice, and then it's like a 3D adventure type, like hack and slash, maybe something like that. But you have these elements of like your cards that you have and you dice rolls and things like that. It just looks like the most fucking charming game I've ever seen. I'm proper excited for it. I pre-ordered it the other day. Like, that was my big standout for E3, like my biggest surprise. And then obviously like the Battlefield trailer was just fucking phenomenal. It was so good. Like that blew me away. Like I'm a massive Battlefield fan anyway. Of like 3 and 4. That was like the golden age of Battlefield, and it just looks like more of that, which I'm all about. And tuk-tuks in Hurricanes, so it's won me over.
Yeah, who doesn't want tuk-tuks in Hurricanes?
Nobody, man. But yeah, also Elden Ring got a trailer as well, so that was great.
Yeah, I mean,
Exciting.
Elden Ring does look good. And next episode, when we go into E3 and all those announcements in a bit more detail, can go into my dislike of Gamescom.
Yeah, Gamescom was a thing.
It was a weird thing. It was very weird. Yeah.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about with the awards show and shit like that.
Yeah. Like it was.
It's rigged.
What was weird? It was better for announcements. It was better than E3. But then it just had these really weird awards where it was naming games as best game of the year that hadn't even come out or won't come out this year.
Yeah.
And be like, what?
Yeah,
It's
really
happening
bizarre.
here. But my favourite one of my favourite award out of all of it was the best game of 2021 for the Switch, of which there were 2 nominees, and they were Just Dance 2022 and Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle 2. Now, I don't play my Switch as much as I should, but I
Same.
know full well that there has been substantially more games that have come out in 2021 for the Switch than those 2. Off the top of my head, Mario Golf,
True.
Yeah.
Monster Hunter, probably Pokemon. Like, and that's just without even thinking about it. That game that you're always playing, the roguelike one.
Skyrim.
Not Skyrim. No one wants to
Hades.
Skyrim anymore. It's Hades. There's been
Hey,
substantial.
you know what? I've got a little Skyrim anecdote. You'd be surprised that I've been playing it. Last week actually, I flew to Germany. I was like, I need a game to play on the plane. So I saw that Skyrim was on sale, so I bought it for the either 5th or 6th time.
Jeez.
I think there's only 7 versions of the game, and I've had it on every single console. So I bought it on the Switch, and I played it on the plane. It was fucking glorious, Shane. You should have been there, man.
I don't want to be there.
Sounds
That
terrible.
Sounds
Yeah.
awful. It's like the worst plane ride ever.
It was so good. Skyrim on a plane.
Is it plane ride? Do you ride on a plane?
Fly.
Flight. It's the worst flight.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. The worst flight ever. But
I
yeah,
had a great fight.
but to be fair, it's been considering COVID and everything, it's been a pretty solid year for announcements. Not necessarily E3 itself, but the whole summer period, we've had some pretty good things get announced, pretty big names.
Well, and all the
And
stuff
it's,
that all the stuff that got delayed during COVID, now we're finally getting a little taste of. So
I'd say
same
next,
with movies. Like it's going to be a busy next 18 months as we play catch up.
yeah, it will be. And if they could all come out, that'd be fantastic. In fact, if they could do this whole premium service, there's the whole watch from home thing, home premiere thing. If they can do that for all films, I'd be a very happy.
See, I like the experience of like going to a theater, but
I
some
do
people
Yeah,
don't.
I do.
/ don't. I also like the ability to pause the film when I need a piss.
It's fair. It's fair.
So there are positives and negatives. I can drink beer in my living room and only pay £5 for the film and invite the lads around to pay the rest of the money and watch that film with me and pause it when I need a piss. Can't do any of that in a cinema.
Fair.
It's a different feeling though. Like I think some films you've got to go to the cinema to watch. Like
Yeah, and
one that stood out for me
Spider-Man.
was A Quiet Place. Yeah, Spider-Man, another one. Massive spectacle. It's got to be on a big screen. Or if it's like the one film that I really enjoyed at the cinema was A Quiet Place 2, which I watched recently. When I was out in the cinema, it's superb in the cinema. It's so good. I think it's still in the cinema. It's still available to watch. And I mean, in my local cinema, it is. But yeah,
I know because
just
you had
one that's definitely heightened by the experience.
you had because I remember you saying about your story about Quiet Place 1, where obviously it was like you could hear a pin drop, and
Yeah.
I've not seen quite.
You could hear the squeak of someone trying to like slowly chew popcorn without making a sound.
Yeah. I don't
And
know if you
it just added to this like, oh fuck, there's a sound like.
I
But
do
yeah, it was
remember
good.
though, and obviously we're talking a very few years ago now, when Paranormal Activity 1 came out, and it was like before anybody knew what the Paranormal Activities were kind of about. Like, you remember the first one had that twist.
Yeah.
No one knew that was coming because it was a brand new idea.
yeah.
And I remember going to the cinema with Max to see it, and that shock at the end, the entire room, like, in pure shock at what had just happened. He also, I don't know if I ever told you this, he also refused to go back to his house that night because he was too scared that he was going to get attacked by ghosts, so he stayed at mine. And we cuddled.
Any excuse, Max.
Literally, I got to his house and all the lights were off, and he was like, "I don't want to go in my house." I was like, "Yeah, I don't really want to go in my house on my own either. Do you want to come round and we'll just spook?" Safety in
You both
numbers.
just cried yourself to sleep.
Yeah, pretty much. Look, everyone knows that ghosts don't attack you if you're in a group. They're shy.
That's true.
Still one at a time.
What
Fact.
if there's a group of ghosts?
You don't get groups of ghosts. That's not how it works. Ghosts don't meet other ghosts. They're not friends with each other.
I
Have
disagree.
you ever seen
but-
13 Ghosts?
Well, yeah, I'm 13 guy. That used to shit me up as a kid. So I once knew this guy. Right, a genuine story. This happened to me. I once knew this guy in an old job that I used to work at in a supermarket, and there was a fella there, bit of an odd fella, but he was nice enough, and I used to chat to him, and he told me that he had a spiritual guide. Obviously, I'm very intrigued by this. So I said to him one day, like, "Oh, so your spiritual guide, like, what does he do?" And he's like, "Oh, he just travels with me and like helps me connect to the spirit world so that I can like speak to ghosts and spirits and whatnot." And I was like, "Okay, so like, how do you get a spirit? Do you have to apply for one at like the spirit center? Like, how do you get a spirit guide for starters?" Like, and he was like, "Oh, you connect with them and they attach to you." This is the funny part. I then said to him, "Okay, so is your spirit here now?" Bearing in mind we're in the middle of a supermarket and he's stacking shelves. And he said, and I quote, "No, my spirit waits outside till the end of my shift." Just imagine this fucking like 200-year-old spirit, and he goes, "No, sorry, mate, you
Just
can't
sat
come
in the
to
car.
I've got to go stack some bread. So if you could just wait out here for 8 hours,
Do you have to
I'll be
crack the
back."
window to make sure a spirit doesn't get too hot in a locked car?
It's absolutely had me
Oh,
in
man.
tears.
We should have him on an episode and talk about this more.
I haven't spoken to him in a long time.
That's why it'll be great.
Just the concept of asking your undead spirit ghost friend to wait outside a supermarket while you stack bread is
I have to
my
tie him
favourite
up, like
Tie him up to a
like a
bike rack.
dog.
Yeah.
What if another
He just
spirit
padlocks
medium
into a bike lock. Oh my
Exactly.
god.
Imagine if another medium comes along, it's like, oh no, this poor spirit has been trapped here. I'm gonna have to take it away and protect it.
Yeah, who
Is
do you
is
call if you find an abandoned spirit tied to a fence
yeah?
post?
Is abandoned spirits a problem in the spirit world? Does that happen a lot? Is there like among the spirit community? Is there
man.
like a spirits for life, not just for Christmas adverts? Like what? How does it work? I need to know.
I have so many follow-up questions.
I can't tell you anything else. That was all he ever told me about
Dang.
his spirit.
That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
Conversations like that, you're like, yeah, I've got enough from this conversation.
Was
Yeah,
he-
I walked away a happy man that night.
Was he into drugs or like
No,
there's something
he-
missing there.
He was deadly serious. And I'm not just using the word deadly for a comical effect. He genuinely was super serious about this.
I'd be intrigued to learn more about this.
Yeah, I mean, it's an intriguing subject.
Yeah, for sure.
Very intriguing. But
Maybe we should have a spin-off podcast of, TripleXP Ghostbusters.
It's called Ponder
Well,
Pod. That's what I'm for.
I think it's probably a good point before we tie up the episode to point out that one of the changes we didn't mention at the front end of the show is that although TripleXP will mostly be gaming focused, we will start to touch on other subjects as well, movies as
Yeah,
we
with
say.
we kind of look at this as like a light merger with PonderPod in the way that like the topics of vastly will just open up now, and it'll still sort of stay within the culture of gaming and things like that, but we can explore more topics definitely.
And it gives us
1,000%
like
for
the
that.
spiritual realm, yeah. And it gives us the freedom too to not worry about being like the breaking news of gaming because people already get all that from
Yeah,
Twitter instantly. So by the time you hear it
Yeah.
other places, you've already heard it 5 other places. So
Exactly. So we're only going to really focus on interesting news that we have opinions on, that we want to bring forward, and stories about spirit mediums.
and ethical practices, whether or not it's a whole planet in disarray or if it's just a group of people with a terrorist, then you got to pick. You can't save everybody.
You can't save everybody. Like sometimes you just got to be a John McClane and do the right thing. And sometimes that right thing means blowing up Nakatomi Complex with everybody inside it accidentally with hands as well. Just saying.
Just gotta make sure.
You got. I mean, sometimes you got to double check. But yeah, so that's been the relaunch. So it's basically
been an
the
episode.
the season 2 relaunch. Here we're back. We promise for a while this time.
We made it. We're here.
We upgraded. We gained some mouldy cheese, and yeah, that's been this week's episode. So as we said earlier,
Yeah.
2 weeks time. Yeah.
Yeah. 2 weeks now is like the every 2 weeks will be like the regular podcast schedule. Tuesday we're saying it'll be out on Tuesday.
And I think our next episode, as we say, will probably touch on all the announcements over summer and go into a bit more detail on our views on those and whatever comes out first.
Yeah. Well, yeah, whatever takes our fancy now. It could be.
We can do whatever we want, damn it.
It's gonna be,
Gotta
yeah. But yeah, I'll just wrap up by saying that if you want to like carry on these conversations that we're having, like you can join our Discord. We're in there daily, like all day long. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm just Mike Plays. Cheese is
Made out of cheese.
what's your Twitter handle again? Yeah, there we go. And Shane is at Subpar Shazam, so you can follow us all there and carry on these conversations in those places. But yeah, so look forward to seeing you next episode.
Yeah.
Bye.
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 TripleXP.